Hey guys, this is a weekly forecast for February 6th through the 10th of 2023. Okay, we'll be covering two daily biases today, and make sure to check out the update on lower confirmations for the CAD yen. Alright, so let's start off with the CAD yen. Okay, this is a daily chart. Let me run you by the current setup I was looking at. So the last daily short trade that form was right here, and the last daily long trade that form was right here. And so the daily bias's risk parameters is between this pivot high and this pivot low. And as price ranged around, I was watching the lower time frames to confirm this bias, whether long or short. So let's go ahead and see what's happening over there. Let's go over to the 4-hour chart. Alright, so on this 4-hour chart, if you recall my midweek analysis, right at this point right here, there was strong long confirmation on the 1-hour chart, which confirmed that daily bias to be long. And so I was mentioning, if I get a pullback all the way down to my entry level at 96, I'll be willing to take a long entry. However, I did not take this long entry because of this trend line right here, from this pivot to this pivot, that I was mentioning on the midweek analysis to watch out for, because it gives the possibility that on the way down, the bias may be reverted back into short. Okay, but in this case, this bias was not reverted back into short. However, the lower confirmations were reset. So let me just explain that to you real quick. Okay, so if you look at this breakback in candle right here, the body and the top wick is exactly the same length in terms of pips. Now, as you guys know, the body for the breakback in candle in lower confirmations must be bigger than the wick in the same direction. Now, in this rare case, the body and the top wick were exactly the same pip length, which actually resets all lower confirmations. Okay, so at this point, the lower confirmations are reset back to neutral, and I'm going to need a 4-hour and above lower confirmation to confirm this bias. So let me just show you a trend line I'm looking at in terms of lower confirmations. Okay, try drawing this trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here. Now, if we could get a pullback down to this trend line, break it out, an immediate break back in. However, price comes down to that pivot low, that will create strong short strength and make that daily bias into short. Or in other words, price is likely to reach this pivot low before reaching this pivot high. Okay, so we'll just see if we could get some lower confirmation for this daily bias, and I'll keep you guys updated. All right, let's go on to the NZD Swiss pair. Okay, and if you're having trouble understanding what I'm talking about in terms of lower confirmation and daily biases, please check out my forecast manual, which is an instruction book that helps you better understand these forecasts. So if there's a term or a concept you don't understand, you can look it up in the manual. Okay, this is a monthly chart. We'll start off with an overview. So since there was normal long strength formed right here on this trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here, which created normal long strength, and so we got this nice move up to these levels. However, right on this trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here, we got consecutive rejection candles to the downside, showing a lot of future short strength, and then we got this fall all the way down to these levels. Now, seeing that there is a lot of future short strength created at this level right here, there's a high probability that price will fall down to this pivot right here to create strong short strength. And so in the long term, I'm short biased right back down to this pivot low right here. Okay, and on the daily chart, there was a short trade that formed right here and a long trade that formed right here. And at the current moment, that daily bias is short. So in the short term, I'm short biased right back down to this pivot low right here. Okay, let's talk entries. Okay, this is a daily chart. Let me run you by the current setup I'm looking at. So the last daily long trade that formed was right here. And the last daily short trade that formed was right here. So the daily risk parameters is between this pivot low and this pivot high. And this bias at the current moment is confirmed to be short by the lower time frames. So in other words, the main target is at this level, while the main stop loss is at this level right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what's happening on the lower time frame confirmations. Let's go over to the 1 hour chart. Okay, so on this 1 hour chart, right at this level right here, there was a breakout, an immediate break back in. Our price came right back down to that pivot low to create strong short strength, thus confirming this daily bias to be short. Or in other words, price is likely to reach this pivot low before reaching this pivot high. Now at this point, the main target right here has not been hit yet. So as long as this target is not hit, and if I could get a pullback right up to these 65.50 levels around here, I'll be willing to take a short entry with a stop loss at this pivot high and this main target right here. Okay, so we'll just see if we could get this pullback, and I'll keep you guys updated on the midweek analysis. Okay, so as you guys know, I only post daily and weekly biases on these forecasts because it'll be impossible to update the lower time frame confirmations for the even lower time frame biases. However, remember that the best thing about biases is that you can directly apply its analysis technique on any time frame or any asset class for that matter. And in ranging markets like the one we're in right now, the 1 and 4 hour time frame biases are still forming. Now, seeing that the markets range about 50 to 70% of the year, having the ability to trade in any market condition is mandatory in being a day trader, because you need the ability to make real profits and not just paper profits throughout the year. Okay, so if you're planning on becoming a day trader, I highly recommend using biases as your method of analysis rather than traditional trending and ranging strategies, because it gives you the ability to trade any time frame as well as any asset class. Okay, and if you have any further questions about day trading, please leave it in the comment section. Okay, so that's it for the weekly forecast. I hope you guys have a great week, guys, and thanks for watching. Okay, bye.